Absolutely. And if we talk about this picture a little bit more, I'm able to zoom in and look a little better at the faces. Well, of course, these positions are not really talking too much about the dynamics, but it is interesting to see. See, Prime Minister Modi, along with him stands Lukashenko, and right after that is Turkey's President Erdogan. Now, we've seen how Turkey came in support of Pakistan during the Operation Sindoor and the skirmishes that we saw. Also, we see Putin standing right next to Xi Jinping. And what is interesting is that Prime Minister Modi had also posted on his social media account, X, that he had a phone call with Ukrainian President before this meeting. Now, in this entire global scenario, look at what has prompted America to put those penalties. What Trump says, that is what they're projecting publicly, that it is the Ukrainian war and the Russia war. And here we see something, a picture, where we see Russia there, Prime Minister spoken to Ukraine there, and America, right now, the one that claims to be the, the harbinger of peace, not there, of course, because not part of this grouping. But very important here are the visuals that we see of Prime Minister standing not very far from Turkey, and also Putin there. So do tell us how the global dynamics or the geopolitics of this entire region is depicted via this picture.
That's a very interesting point that you made, that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy called up Prime Minister Narendra Modi because he knew that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting the Russian President, Russian President Vladimir Putin here, and he hopes that there will be an attempt that peace, the road to peace, can come out of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's conversations with President Putin. Clearly, it's something that did not happen when the American President Donald Trump spoke to the Russian President in Alaska. So, if you remember, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi had traveled to Moscow and then he traveled to Kiev, both times he said, if there is an effort that's required, if you want anything that India can do, India is very happy to make that effort for peace in this region. But both sides should want it. Let's see what comes out of that meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin tomorrow.
Absolutely. It will be interesting to keep an eye on it, especially since the whole trade war that US is trying to project and saying it's the Modi's war, and trying to say that the penalty that they've imposed on India is actually India's doing. That's what they're trying to project. But here we know that Russia itself got a grand welcome when he went to US. China stands there tall in the middle of it all, getting a much better trade deal than what India got. So then how is it that the penalty is being imposed only on India and not the other countries? So this is quite an interesting point that we will be keeping an eye on, but also Ukraine in this milieu. But we are receiving now the pictures as well. The Nepalese Prime Minister has also come in with his wife. We are receiving the visuals of the reception and the wife of President Xi Jinping standing there next to him, taking part in welcoming all the leaders, many of them who have come there with their spouses, as Gaurav told us. Gaurav, could you tell us who are the people who are invited to this reception? This is a much more informal occasion. This will be an occasion for, the leaders to mingle. And sometimes, you never know. We see Muzzu also over there. Maldives is something that India has been focusing on recently, and we have bridged that gap that was coming between the two and the relationship. So do tell us what happens during these informal dinners and receptions, because we as common men do not have an insight to it.
So you're absolutely right. President Muizu of Maldives is also a special invitee. So there are 20 heads of state and government, some with their spouses who are here. And the effort is for them to mingle with each other, interact with each other. Russia, of course, integral to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but there are many analysts who say that China is trying to make deeper inroads in the Indian Ocean region. The invitation to President Muizu of Maldives, the invitation that's gone out to Nepal, some may have frowned upon it, saying, Nepal is closer to India. At the same time, Nepal has always there have been instances that Nepal has played the China card against India. So that's something that India has dealt with from the very beginning. Again, this is something that there's intense jockeying that's happening globally, and you witness it here. But that's one aspect. The second that you were saying, what happens here? After these formal pictures are taken, it's an informal environment for all the heads of state and governments to interact with each other. And that's an opportunity that they get to know each other better. Often that works to the advantage of these countries and these groupings. Then, of course, they sit down for a formal state dinner. Then tomorrow is the official reception and the Tianjin declaration that we shall see once this meeting is over. But after that, there's another meeting that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be having with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and that too is extremely significant. That meeting is very, very important, again, from the points of view of India-Russia bilateral, and whether there's a signal that goes out, the road to peace in Russia and Ukraine, does that go through New Delhi, or does New Delhi have a role to play in it? Not because it's Modi's war on Ukraine, but whether the Prime Minister can play a role in getting Russia and Ukraine to talk to each other, and not through the United States or any other country in Europe that may have their own axe to grind here.
Right.